Hello everyone, this is Pooka and welcome to another game I played on the Pokemon Trading Card Game Online. This time I'm trying out a bit of a different deck. It's got pretty much all the stuff from the Plasma decks that we're seeing. I have Snorlax, I have Lugia, Deoxys, Thundurus, but this deck is going to focus on getting Umbreon, the Plasma one, into play with that Dark Shade ability, which gives all of your Plasma Pokemon plus 20 hit points. So we're going to try our best to get as many Umbreon in play as possible, and then just kind of get the beefiest Pokemon we can that just don't get knocked out, and then, take advantage of these awesome Team Plasma Pokemon, and see if that extra HP can, end up winning the game for us. So right off the bat, turn 1, 3 EVs down. That is pretty rare, quite honestly. That's not going to happen too often. Also throw down the Deoxys EX. And I'm going to have to pass since, Snorlax doesn't really do anything for the first couple turns. But, Snorlax has that block ability, which is actually really nice against these Rayquaza Eelektrik decks, which is what I'm going up against here. Because it prevents retreating. And, Dynamotor only goes to your benched Pokemon. So frequently with these Rayquaza Eelektrik decks, you have to promote a Pokemon with free retreat like Emolga, or put down a Sky Arrow Bridge to give your Pokemon free retreat, and then you Dynamotor to your bench Rayquaza EX, and you retreat to it, and then use Dragon Burst. Now with Snorlax using that block ability, it's going to prevent that retreating, so every time my opponent wants to do something, he's going to have to either play a switch, which is going to slow things down quite a bit, or, you're going to have to catch her around the Snorlax, and then it survives, which really isn't what you want since Team Pact is such a brutal attack. That is for sure. So I'm going to play a Chorus Machine here. I'm just going to go ahead and catch her out one of the Rayquaza EX, knowing that he cannot retreat it. So if he wants to burn a switch to put something out, he's probably going to have to switch to Emolga. And then I'm going to get a Chorus for 10 cards. That is a ridiculous turn 2 draw. And oh boy. Alright, so 1 Umbreon, and we have 2 Team Plasma Balls in hand as well. So that means a second Umbreon, and you can see everything's getting plus 20 HP. And a third Umbreon. Everything now has plus 60 HP on my side of the board. And heck, there's the Aspertia City Gym as well. That means my Snorlax has plus 80 hit points. And that means this basic non-EX Pokemon now has 210 hit points. Look at that. It's 210 hit points. How are you supposed to knock these things out? 230 hit point Deoxys EX. 230 hit point Thundurus EX. Even Rayquaza Eelektrik is going to struggle to knock out these things in one hit. And even Umbreon has 160 HP. Like, what? It doesn't even make sense. When I played this the first time, I was actually laughing just how much HP everything has. Like, how are you supposed to even beat this? Once this deck gets to this point, I mean, Rayquaza Eelektrik might be the only deck that really could beat this. It can do enough damage, I suppose. But he's going to need 3 Eelektriks in play, and then an attachment for the turn, just to hit 240 damage to knock out a 1-prize Snorlax. How absurd is that? So I think at this point my opponent's probably like, what is going on? What am I supposed to do about this nonsense? It's a 210 hit point Snorlax? How am I supposed to knock that out? And he plays a switch, which I'm happy about. He's burning a switch. Hopefully there we go, finally clicked away from it. And he actually uses Celestial Roar because he's like, what am I supposed to do here? I need to get as much energy in play as possible. And here I'm thinking, alright, well, heck, I can just sit back for a while. My stuff's not really going to get knocked out. As long as I can knock out some Eelektriks at some point, I'm probably going to win. He has to discard, legitimately has to discard 4 energy every single time he wants to knock out one of my Pokemon. Except for Umbreon. That would only take 3 with Dragon Burst. But how absurd is this? I mean, normally you don't think of Umbreon as a real great Pokemon. I mean, it's a stage 1. It's only going to be a support Pokemon, but when you look at it this way, geez, my stuff's just not going to die anymore. So, I did have a float stone on my Snorlax. I'm going to go ahead and play a Chorus Machine, and heck, since Deoxys has a bazillion hit points, I'm just going to attack with him. I'm going to put a Prism on him and Helix Force. There are 3 energy on the Rayquaza EX, so I'm going to Helix Force for 120. Why not? Even if he does Dragon Burst me, then I can just Helix Force for the knockout. And I'll take my prize lead. I'll probably get another energy onto Snorlax, and everything will be fine and dandy. And we do see that third Eelektrik into play, so now things are starting to get a little scary. But again, every time he wants to attack, he not only has to attach from his hand and then get the 3 Eelektriks Dynamotor. He doesn't even have 3 Lightning in the discard pile yet. He actually decides to catch her out Umbreon here, which he's already attached for the turn, so I was confused as to why he did this. He probably didn't realize that Umbreon also gets the plus HP, and it does stack. So, Umbreon takes a hit for 120, and it still survives. That is how ridiculous this is when you get 3 Umbreon in play. Now imagine if I got 4 in play. Then how absurd would this be? But, excuse me, I'm just gonna... I attached the Prism to Umbreon so I could retreat it. And then I'm going to Helix Force for the knockout. I could Chorus Machine, get another Plasma Energy onto the Snorlax. I probably should have. But, yeah, Deoxys is taking it to Rayquaza, and he has no fear. I mean, even with those 3 Eelektriks out there, he still has to get another Lightning in the discard pile, and then has to still attach one from his hand. And then he could finally knock out Deoxys, but then Snorlax comes out. So I'm not actually worried about this at all. We can see I have Lugia in my hand, I have Tornadus EX in my hand as well. Those things are going to have 200, how much? 60 hit points? A 260 hit point Lugia EX. How ridiculous is that, folks? Huh? Tell me that. This is one of the silliest games I've ever played. And I haven't even drawn into a double colorless energy yet. So I'm going to go ahead, Chorus Machine onto Snorlax, and then we're going to target down another Rayquaza. I could catch her out that Rayquaza EX. With the 3 energy on it, at the very least I should be able to use Helix Force. So I'm debating whether or not I want to use a switch here. I could switch into Snorlax, and then if I don't draw the DC, I can always just retreat back. So I do decide to play the switch. I want to preserve that energy on the Deoxys EX. And we're going to Chorus for another 10. And I got the double colorless energy. And now my 210 hit point basic Pokemon non-EX used Team Pact for 190 damage. And rightly so, my opponent concedes the game. So this, by far, was one of the craziest games I've ever played. Just an absurd setup, an absurd board, and I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did, because I had a lot of fun playing. But until next time, guys, I am Pooka here from the Top Cut. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.